everyone. Hello to our live viewers watching us via Facebook. And of course, a shout out to our special guests who are right here in our Zoom webinar. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And welcome to Inspired and Fulfilled, a special learning session with top mentors. And yes, we will learn a lot. We will be inspired and fulfilled this afternoon, this hour and a half that we will spend with each other. And for those of you who have been following Pocket Mentor religiously for every live session, thank you so much for being here and connecting with us and hanging around. And for those of you who have just tuned in, you're in luck because today is the day that we have almost all our mentors in one Zoom room here on Facebook Live at the Pocket Mentor Facebook page. So if you want to invite more friends, come on, because we still have a lot of time and we still have a lot of things to discuss and to learn and to enjoy during this session. So as you know, this afternoon is not quite like the previous sessions we've had because today is the official online launch of Pocket Mentor. Woohoo! So we planned this to be an extraordinary learning experience together with not just one, not just two, but 7 members or 7 mentors who will serve as our panelists during the discussion later on. So before we meet our mentors, I'd like to invite the audience to send in your questions because we will have a Q&A after. So feel free to comment on our Facebook page or send us a private message anytime during the entire session. And we will try to answer all of them later. Okay? So I move on now to the introduction of our mentors today. It is both a pleasure and a privilege to be in the same virtual room with these great minds and hearts. So let me start with the mentor who is also a founding member of Pocket Mentor. He is one of the most respected business speakers in the country and a recipient of the Outstanding Filipino Award in 2014. He is an entrepreneur. He is a radio program speaker, a columnist in one of the major broadsheets, and a best-selling author. You guys got to read his book. So let's welcome Mr. Francis Kong.
Thank you, Robbie. I think you're just a little bit too generous with the introduction, but thank you, thank you very much. And it's a pleasure for me to be here. I mean, in the same room with all these brilliant minds, and thank you. Happy to be here.
Okay, thank you, Sir Francis.
Thank
Our
you.
second mentor is a keynote speaker, a host, and an image consultant. She is also an advocate of the World Wildlife Fund for Nature Philippines, a youth ambassador of Climate Change Commission, and a member of Conservation of Oceans Resources and Aquatic Life. She is the 2017 Miss Earth, Beauty and Brains combined. Say hello to Miss Karen Ibasco.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me here.
All right, thank you, Miss Karen, and we will hear from her later on. So up next, this mentor is the co-founder and president of Human Nature, which is a company proud to be pro-Philippines, pro-poor, and pro-environment. She is one of the 2 Filipinas listed on the 2016 Asia Society New York's Young Leaders Initiative. We are so happy that you can join us again, Miss Anna Meloto-Wilk.
Thanks, Robbie. Pleasure is mine. I'm very happy to be here and not just to share, but to learn from my fellow mentors. So excited.
Yes, yes. It's so exciting sitting here as well, no, seeing you guys. All right. Our fourth mentor is the CEO and co-founder of Embiggen Consulting. He is also the Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Far Eastern University Institute of Technology and the CEO and co-founder of Neighborly, and a U.S. Department of State Professional Fellow for Economic Empowerment, Young Southeast Asian Leaders. So give it up for Mr. Rolan Garcia.
Hi guys, good afternoon. Happy to be here. Honored to be part of this.
All right. Thank you, Roland. Our next mentor is the current president and program director of Philippine Habagat Baseball. He is also a sports commentator, analyst, and writer who has witnessed and attended various local and international sporting events. Please welcome Coach Mike Ochosa.
Oops.
Okay. Maybe Coach Mike, you're on mute, or if not, but
Oh, there. Okay.
Oh,
Can you-
there.
Okay. Sorry. Well, I repeat what I just said. Sorry. Well, first of all, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for having me here. But much like Anna, I'm here to learn. Really, I don't even want to speak. I just want to learn from all the other people I see on screen. But thank you for having me, and I'm really honored to be here. Thanks, Robbie.
All right. Thank you, Coach Mike. Okay. So we also have this afternoon a mentor who is the former CEO of Publicis Manila for almost a decade. She likewise became a marketing consultant of CNN Philippines and today the current marketing director at Ateneo de Manila University. Please welcome to Pocket Mentor, Ms. Matec Villanueva.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Matec. And last but certainly not the least, our seventh mentor to complete the panel is the head coach and program director of 360 Fitness Club Manila. He is a certified strength and conditioning specialist and master trainer for trigger point therapy, SMRT core myofascial compression techniques, and power plate vibration training. Whew. Okay, and that's a lot of science there. Okay. He is likewise a consultant for corporate wellness programs and a personal trainer for people of all types, including athletes, children, and teenagers, and the older adults. So please welcome Coach Chappy Callanta.
Thank you very much, Robbie, for that introduction. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It's such an honor to be here, not only to speak, but also to learn from all of our esteemed mentors. Happy to be here.
Okay, great. So I know all of you are just so excited. Those of you who are watching and those of you who are here on Zoom, I know you are also excited to hear from all of our mentors, right? So I'll start the discussion. So let's start the discussion with Ms. Matec. So just a few questions. So
Yeah, you have to start with the oldest, right?
in no particular order.
No, I just declared it.
Okay. So Ms. Matec, you've been
Yes,
in the marketing industry
Forever.
forever, right? Your entire career. And you've been in a leadership role for most of it, most of that time. How do you stay on top?
Oh, by constantly following. I always believe that a leader, you see a good leader, a good teacher, I'd like to think, is a constant student. So you actually have to play both roles. So I always say that, for people to follow you, you have to understand your follower.
Mhm.
So I think that's the way you stay on top. You don't take yourself too seriously as leading, but actually you should take yourself seriously as more like guiding. I think that's the real role of a mentor, is to guide.
Right.
And I always say, if I were a particular breed of dog, I would be a shepherd. I would be a shepherd dog. I would be herding dog. I would be herding sheep. Herding dogs take care of their flock. They actually they don't bite. I mean, they the way they do it is they'll walk with you, and then if you go out of line, they'll gently bite you by the foot, just to bring you back, just to make sure, but
Oh, yeah.
never hurt them. So I always believe that that's the kind of I've always believed that because that's how I want to be led as well. I think I was led that way when I was learning the ropes. So I think it really works.
All right. Okay.
And Miss Universe ang question, naloka.
Oo nga, di ba? Okay. Maybe something that a lot of people can relate to nowadays, or many people who can relate nowadays. You are a single parent with 2 kids, right?
3.
And with all your accomplishments and your busy schedule, even when you were working in Publicis and in marketing, and then now in Ateneo, how have you managed to be a career woman while being the sole caretaker for your family?
Okay. I believe, this is what I did. I only did 3 things. Anything beyond that, you can't do anymore. So when people say, how do you buy? It's like when you juggle things,
Mhm.
the more balls you juggle, the bigger the chances of you dropping a ball, right?
Right.
So what I do is I realize I can just do 3 things. Okay, so those 3 things are family, work, and take care of myself. And everything just revolved around that. Anything that does not, include my family or my work or taking care of myself so that I can do good work and take care of my family, I just pass it up. And people say, hindi ka ba nanghihinayang you that don't get to do it? No, because I guess I knew what my priorities were,
Mhm.
and I accepted the fact that you can't do everything. So if you want to do something really, really well, just focus.
All right. Right. Thank you so much.
I'm so anti-millennial, no?
Okay lang yun. I
I'm so
think that's
anti-millennial.
anti-millennial.
No, kasi sila YOLO di ba?
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
Eh,
yun.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
I was just saying that, everybody says you only live once. And it's like, yeah, but you don't have to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something that's I mean that's very important for us to remember that we can do a lot of things, but I think we need to focus on priorities. And when you focus on priorities, that's when you can maybe do other stuff if you're able to accomplish um, things that are in your priority list first, and
Oh.
anything that doesn't contribute to that is just either fluff or probably doesn't matter, right? Yeah, so thank you, that was very insightful. I love that.
If I can
Yeah,
just
sure,
add
go ahead.
something.
Yeah.
Actually, the other thing that made me survive this thing is I work with good people.
Mm,
Whether I was at work or at home, because I wouldn't have not survived home if I didn't get good people to work with me. I have a yaya who's been with me for the last 24 years.
wow.
Okay, so it really matters. You pick the right people to be working with,
Yep.
because then it makes whether life, work, family, or yourself
Mhm.
easier to manage.
Right. Yeah,
So that-
that's true. To surround ourselves with good people. Yeah, that's very important. And it's also very important for our own I for lack of a better word, for our own sanity, right?
Totally.
To be around good people. Okay, thank you so much, Miss Matec. Let's move on to Anna. Anna, being a woman in a leadership position as well, you can relate. Can you relate? I mean, to Miss Matec's experience.
Well, definitely. I mean, listening to Miss Matek, I was like, okay, this is how you do it. Like, and prioritizing, surrounding yourself with good people. So far, those are the things that have really been able to help me to
Mhm.
be able to manage, still being a mom and being able to manage my teams, and just get things running. But another thing that I think my philosophy has been so far is always just striving for progress, not perfection.
Mhm.
I'm also very anti-millennial because I just kind of got to the last decade, the coolest decade, the 70s. I was born 79.
Okay.
So I'm like super like really not in the millennial space, but I've seen there's so much pressure, especially on parents, especially on working women, for everything to look perfect. Maybe because there's social media,
Mhm.
everyone's being judged through, how Pinterest worthy
Yeah.
things look, that sort of thing.
Right.
Um, but as soon as we let go of perfection and just celebrate progress, the small wins, and comparing ourselves not with other people, but who we were yesterday, I
Mhm.
think that's where the most fulfillment has come in from me. And also, as you said, that's where sanity gets is kept together.
Yeah.
I have 6 children,
Okay. Oof.
so it's important that I really need to get my head in the game and
Mhm.
make sure that I'm not putting unnecessary pressure on myself.
Right. Okay. Galing, ah. Oh, 6 kids.
Six.
Okay.
Nice.
I,
Good luck.
I can just imagine. Well, I have three, but my mom, we were 8 siblings, so I can just imagine how she also managed and how you're managing. Especially now in this time of the lockdown, and to get everybody busy at home. So that they're not bored, especially for the kids nowadays, right? So do you think it was harder for you to establish a career, let alone a huge business, because well, number one, because you're a woman, and that also you have family to take care of. I mean, was that a journey that was a little bit different maybe, and at the same time, what were the challenges that you had there? How did you do it?
As I said, I can only really compare my experience to myself. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's very difficult for me to put myself, for example, in Chappy shoes or in
Yeah.
Sir Francis, So I
Yeah.
can only kind of really reflect on my own journey. But for one thing, what really I was thinking about this, what really made an impression on me was that from a very young age, I had very strong female role models,
Mm-hmm.
both in the home front but also in the career front. So my mom was a full time mom,
Mm-hmm.
and she embraced it. She loved every moment of it. But at the same time, I think she was also the first hustler that I've seen. Not hustler like, trying to get um unfair advantage, but like
Right.
hustling, like side hustle. She did
Right.
everything. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she sold stuffed toys, she ran a school
Mm-hmm.
bus, she sold dressed chickens. So she was very, very practical.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a missionary for a long time, so it was very necessary for my mom to hustle.
Right.
Um, and from her, I learned how to embrace my role as a mom, but at the same time, how to be practical and how to be resourceful. So that's a really strong role model. But at the same time, in university, I remember having strong women role models. Like
Mm-hmm.
my first advertising professor, she was the one who really got me into marketing and advertising, was Mrs. Nanette Dico. And from her, I got into J. Walter Thompson. I got exposed to advertising. Other than that, I had really strong um, role models who were younger than Mrs. Dico, who really loved ideas. They loved to bring those to life, and that kind of set me on the path towards the career that I wanted to be in. So it's very important to kind of recognize those role models, because up to now, like 20 plus years down the line, I still have them to thank for the huge influence that they had on me, and
Right.
great bosses as well along the way.
Wow. Okay. So that's good. It's good to have those role models, to have, and I like what you said, that you only have yourself to compare, right? You only have yourself, and that's really the benchmark that we should always have rather than looking at other people. Oh, they have more, or they have this and that. It's really you, right? It's really you. How do you make yourself better than you are today, right? And that's what Pocket Mentor is for, ladies and gentlemen. So for those of you watching, that's what Pocket Mentor is here for, to make you better. I'm inviting all of you to take advantage of Pocket Mentor. Let's go on. Thank you, Miss Anna. Let's go on to Coach Mike. Coach Mike, your personal philosophy, and I mentioned this a while ago, is this: sports models life. So how did you come to that, and how might you explain that further?
Well, I guess let's go back first to when we were all in school. I'm sure you all remember the Department of Education was called DEX first. So they
Yes.
had Department of Education and they call it Culture
Yes.
and
Culture.
Sports,
Yes.
right? So that's locally in the Philippines, but all over the world, sports has always been part of the educational system, and we forget why they put that there. It's because sports is the best opportunity to actually teach people about life. It's a controlled situation most of the time. And we're talking about things like discipline. We're talking about things like teamwork, commitment, long term goals, practice. Those things, as like as parents or even in the workplace, for example, when I was still in corporate, you would try to help the people to work with you. You try to help them by words, but we all know that given to teach people, the best way is to lead by example. But you have
Mhm.
limited opportunities in the workplace.
Mhm.
But in sports, when you start them young, it's all controlled. The environment is so controlled that you can actually pick up very important tenets of life within the situation. So just if I may illustrate, Robbie, I guess it needs to be told now. Philippine Habagat Baseball focuses on the youth. I don't coach the PBA. That's not the guys who I coach. I coach young boys, young men, no, 8 years old to 18 years old, and that's a great opportunity for you to actually form how these guys think, act, and respond. No? How do they respond? So it's very interesting how they come in with open hearts, with open hearts and open minds. And then that's where you start putting in the ideas of good conduct, respect. And I think in the workplace, sometimes you just have to go back to those fundamentals. If your group or your team is not aligned with what you want them to do, then you just bring them back to those fundamentals. So I go back to that. If you can find a way to bring them to a certain level of competition, of a sports-like situation, I think you can bring everyone back to where they should be. So that's why I think it's very important, and it's a metaphor to life.
Yeah. And I agree, that in sports, because I also would play sports in school, and it teaches you character, right? That that there's a difference between winning and losing for one, and
Right,
then when you lose graciously,
right,
and that it pushes you to do better
right.
the next time around, right? And I think that's something that is a good point for all of us, even in a corporate setting, that
Right.
you're not going to be perfect in everything that you do, but when you fail and you've experienced this through sports or whatever other kind of sports that you got into, it's something that teaches you that oh no, I'll pick myself up and then I'll move forward. And yeah, that was very good insight. Thank you for that, and for reminding us of that, because that's so important. So if that's the case, what would you think are the most common misconceptions people have about sports or teamwork, for example? And how can we combat these misconceptions and communicate more effectively?
I'll focus on the one thing that you said to make it simple. You talk about winning and losing. That's the same.
Mhm.
That experience is the same. It only becomes different on how you respond to it. The feeling is the same. The emotions is the same. The physical response to winning and losing is the same.
Mhm.
What makes it different is how you respond moving forward. I'll tell you this. Some people who have had experiences of winning early in their life actually become complacent. And as time passes by, the ones that they beat early on, you just get surprised. They are the ones that come up in the long run. They get better and they get more successful than the ones who won before. So
Right.
I guess that's the greatest misconception of sports. You do not play to win. You play to learn. You play to get better. You compete not to beat the other guy, but to make yourself better than when you started. And I think that that's a misconception that we all have. It's like, you know, when you're watching everyone, let's go win.
Yeah.
Cheer, cheer, cheer. And then when the winner's there, but that's not what sports is all about. It's the whole experience. And what you get from it, either when you lose or you win, is what is the value that you walk away with.
Galing. Okay. Thank you for that. That's such a I like that, the reminder and how to bring in that to real life, right? The elements of sports, because yeah, I remember it being decks before. Okay, goes to show you my I am a Gen Xer. So and yeah, these are principles and values that we get from sports, and I think it's something that we can learn from right now, and that's why some people are asking, in this lockdown, so what will you do for PE? Well, here you have it, right? We can still learn something even though we're doing things online, if we are focusing on sports and the principles behind it and the values that we can learn from it. Okay, thank you. And we will hear more, ladies and gentlemen, we will hear more from Coach Mike later on with your questions, of course.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's continue our discussion and we will hear from Sir Francis. Okay. uh, Question. You have been an inspirational speaker for more than a decade.
Mm.
And I personally have listened to you on the radio, your Business 101 in the DZFE channel. I would listen to that when I could
Mm.
catch it while driving. And how did you get into that industry, and why have you stayed there for so long?
Um, I've always been an entrepreneur until now. I'm still involved with different businesses. And I think I started to make a mark in the garments industry.
Mhm.
So, but I started my unglamorous fashion career as changing mannequins' dresses in fixing show windows. And I just figured this is not the level I want to stay in.
Mhm.
So there's got to be something that I can do to go up to the next one. So I set my eyes on sales.
Mhm.
But the thing that made the major difference was that somebody gave me a tip. I had a mentor. By the way, a mentor is simply defined as a unexperienced advisor.
Yeah.
So with his experience, curiously, he came from the advertising agency. Maybe Matec might even know him, but he belongs to a different generation. His name is Pete Galvez, jingle maker and a well-known guy. And then he says, you will never get anywhere unless you read books. So I devoured books. So next thing I found out is that I was ready with some options to enter into the selling department, and then I started peddling pants. So that was the garment industry I was in. And then when I was selling pants, I said, no, no, no. I don't want to just show samples of my merchandise. I got to bring some ideas. And then I will have to train and I will have to provide ideas. And then I will have to educate the buyers, the
Mhm.
purchasers with ideas like some fashion forecast. Why do you call a five pocket jeans? Why are the rivets there? And to put some interest into it. I think I'm a storyteller, by the way. And so in doing so, I never realized that what happened was that the buyers get educated, and then their bosses got so impressed with their education until such time as it reached the bosses themselves. Next time I found out is I was doing presentation for Harley C and Rubina Gokong Wei and all these
Wow.
guys. And then I finally discovered that, hey, I was actually doing training and public speaking even without knowing it.
Mhm.
So the joy there that has made me lasted this long is the joy of discovery of new ideas, process it, present it to them that can even help them in their business and help them grow. And the second reason why I've lasted that long is that so far God is not yet done with me. I am still happy doing the same thing I've been doing for so many years now. Yeah.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are wondering why Sir Francis is always well put together, always dressed well, now you know the history. Now you know the
Uh,
history. And
yeah.
Sir Francis is always very, very elegantly dressed. So something that we can all learn from as well, even without him saying anything. Uh,
The secret there is that it is not true that men hate shopping.
mm.
I love shopping. Shopping is therapy, and I'm constantly under intensive care.
Thank you, Sir Francis. Uh, so, being in this industry, what has been the most interesting trend or trends which you
Mm,
have observed for the past few years or even the past months, no?
mm,
Given this whole lockdown and the drastic change in the environment during the start
yes.
of the year. So, what would be the top trends right now?
So I'm gonna give you my answer in two parts.
Okay.
Long before COVID happened, even for the past 3 or 4 years, I saw an interesting trend wherein HR people, business owners suddenly realized the need, and they have raised up their respect in terms of soft skills training.
Mhm.
So while you have one aspect of business and industry boasting about technology that it's going to be an AI dominated world, data is more what is it, more powerful than oil?
Mhm.
Not now. Oil is cheap, right? And then you have automation and everything else. But at the same time, as they were focused on all these sophisticated technological advancements,
Mhm.
I think they've realized that at the end of the day, it's talent management, it's the knowledge worker, it's still people driving systems. And so the more that society is finding social media ubiquitous and everything else, the more they find that people do not lack the necessary skills now in order to relate to one another.
Right.
So, interestingly, while there's the emphasis on technological development, there is now a rising respect towards training in terms of soft skills.
Right.
And then COVID 19 happened.
Mhm.
So I can see now very clearly the evident shifting of trend right now is that digital is the new default.
Mhm.
So at the very start, people did not know what, because you had to go to the shock of the initial lockdown. It is something that's never happened to us before. Then they realized that marketing people realized that they cannot stop with their marketing activities, but it's got to go online. HR people realized that we still have to continue with our training, but it's got to be online. And so what we have now is we have discovered technology that has allowed me, as a matter of fact, to reach out to a lot more people now compared to the usual in-person, on-ground event I used to do.
Right.
And so the latest trend right now that I find is that my clients now are so interested because I think for the first time they have seen the possibility of democratizing training and then using platform and make it accessible not just to the this is strange in business. The higher the level of the executives are, the bigger is their budget for training. That's why they go on offsite, they play golf, more so they have junket more than training actually. And then the people who are importantly doing the work in the middle management downwards, they don't have a budget for that.
Yeah.
So they realize that now with platforms and with the right content, they are able now to reach out to every person in the entire organization. So I think there's a radical shift towards that behavior and that acceptance of fusing technology with very important content that will make it very feasible for everybody to afford training.
All right. Thank you, Sir Francis.
You're
And
welcome.
it's curious that that just recently we also had a session on meaningful relationships in the workplace, and that's exactly what we were talking about as well. That soft skills, developing relationships, rather than the bottom line, actually,
Yeah.
is more important now than ever,
Yes.
and people are realizing it. And that's a very good point that you brought out. And ladies and gentlemen, we will hear more from Sir Francis later. Let me go down the roster. We still have a few more mentors to hear from. So, uh, Sir Roland, Mr. Roland Garcia, um, I'll shift to you now, and I will ask you just this. How has corporate entrepreneurship changed in the past years? And what do you predict will happen in the next maybe 5 to 10 years, or maybe let's just say 5 years from now?
Yeah. Um, Entrepreneurship, as well, in other words, corporate entrepreneurship, has been around in Silicon Valley mostly for around 30 years already. Um, these were in the forms of R&D teams, for example, for Xerox. But right now, because of innovation, and especially during the time of technology, corporations realized that they can easily be disrupted by challenger startups. We saw this in Kodak.
Yep.
We saw this in the taxis, right? We
Mhm.
saw this in different industries being disrupted solely because more companies are more entrepreneurial and more innovative than others.
Right.
So in the past 2 decades, perhaps, more and more big corporations are afraid of this. In fact, 61% of CEOs think that they will be disrupted by a challenger company at any moment,
Yeah.
especially during COVID-19, right? So this is hyper accelerated, this particular trend.
Mhm.
In Silicon Valley, a lot of what they call innovation teams are becoming more in-house. Yesterday, I was shooting one of the Pocket Mentor episodes actually on. I was talking about case studies, for example, of Airbnb, where before they launched their trips product, they had to, number one, create a small dedicated team to build this particular product. And it was so successful that what happened was they created now an in-house innovation team composed of corporate entrepreneurs, and it's called Samara.
Mhm.
More and more companies in Silicon Valley, this is sort of natural for them to have. In the Philippines, only the conglomerates have that, but not even it's not even that mature yet. So Ayala, for example, headed by Vince Tobias,
Mhm.
is the head of innovation. JG Summit is also doing that.
Right.
SM sort of doing that already, but not really there yet. No. So globally, it is accelerating. So corporate in-house innovation teams, what they do is they hire corporate innovation accelerators from outside. They even partner with universities, like for example, FEU Innovation Center, which is something that we want to do in the next few months, is to accelerate corporate innovation through the resources of the university. Right. So I think in the Philippines at least, since we're talking about this, no, in the Philippines and other emerging markets, corporate entrepreneurship, number one, needs to be there.
Mhm.
to unlock post-crisis growth, and it's more imperative now because of COVID-19. And hopefully, not only the big conglomerates have such a monopoly in terms of this particular concept of innovation teams or outsource innovation teams to create new lines of revenue to unlock post-crisis growth, right? So hopefully in the next 5 years, more and more people are going to hire what we call EIRs, or entrepreneurs in residence.
Okay.
These are experienced entrepreneurs that have perhaps exited their companies already, and have formal innovation training to be mainstay inside these big corporations, inside you know our corporations, like medium-sized companies and so on. So I think that's where innovation and corporate entrepreneurship is going to go. Perhaps in the Philippines, going to start outsourced, but then more and more in-house teams, as Francis mentioned earlier. That innovation, no matter how automated your company is, will still be driven by people. Systems and processes will still be by people.
Right.
So hopefully we have more trained innovators, more entrepreneurs who are willing to work with corporations as entrepreneurs in residence, and drive a first world economy for the Philippines.
And I think that's very important to have that what you can say, the entrepreneurial mindset and the entrepreneurial spirit in corporations. And many I think a lot of corporations should start embracing that, allowing people to ideate more, allowing people to take a certain amount of risk in terms of ideas and
Yeah.
new ways of doing things. And I think that's something that will push progress really forward. Yeah. So just to get a feel or get to know you a little bit better, how did you become a corporate innovator, and what were your greatest experiences that led you to be a significant part of this area?
Oh, okay. Well, so I'm
In
a
30 seconds. No, just kidding.
yeah. Hindi ko kaya yung kay Karen, no, yung mga Miss Universe type. Ano ba? Oh, so, I was with the Asian Development Bank before this. I graduated with an engineering and science degree.
Mhm.
So I like building things. I wanted to be a rocket scientist.
Wow.
Before, I wanted to work for NASA, all those stuff, right? But then I did sales. So I jumped from employment to entrepreneurship through distributing the genetic technologies, right, from the US to the Philippines. And then I realized that I didn't want to. So because I wanted to build things, I got into the innovation space. So I created my own venture capital fund, my own incubator, which failed. Failed 3 times in business already, millions in debt. So I decided to do another one, which is what my firm is doing now, and heading innovation for FEU. But then I was really fascinated with how new businesses are formed, how industries are disrupted in the macro scale, why Fortune 500 companies 2 decades ago are not Fortune 500 companies right now, how Kodak closed, for example, and why Fujifilm, survived. And all these things were in innovation. Right? A lot of people think that tech or using technology is already innovation, but innovation isn't just about technology. It's about improving processes. It's about the continuous hunger for improvement and sort of a healthy disregard for tradition. Right? And I was fascinated with that, no? Sort of anti-status quo, no? And fascinated with how corporations, especially in emerging markets, because what we realized that in first world companies or first world countries, it is a tech-based economy. Japan, the United States, right? And all these, Germany, right? And why can't we do that here? Why can't the Philippines be the next Silicon Valley? Why can't we be like Singapore, for example? Right? In Singapore, like for example, there's even a national chief innovation officer. Why can't we have that in the Philippines? Right? There's a specific person in charge of innovation, right? And Singapore currently wants to be a smart nation, right? And I really think that the Philippines can do that. It can start with corporations, help the GDP, and perhaps become a first world economy, in a few decades.
All right. Yes, thank you. And yeah, I mean that's something to think about. Why don't we have a chief innovation officer? There should be one nationwide. And I think Filipinos just have to be given a chance, right? A chance to be able to ideate, to put forward their thoughts, their ideas. Because I mean, outside of the Philippines, Filipinos have proven themselves in that area of innovation, and it's time that we bring it home. It's time that we bring it home. Thank you so much for that, Roland. Let's move on to Miss Karen Ibasco. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are watching this, I forgot to mention that Miss Karen Ibasco is also had honors as a when she graduated as a medical physicist. Okay, my gosh, medical physicist. Okay,
Yeah.
handles nuclear stuff, right? Stuff
Yeah.
that I don't understand, and I'm an engineer by education. So, so guys and ladies and gentlemen, beauty and brains. There you have it, right there. So, so Miss Karen, just to ask you, what is the number one way that we can make a substantial difference in terms of our personal image? Because I think going into innovation and moving forward, progressing as a nation, that's also very important. So in terms of that, what would make a substantial difference in our own personal image? And do you think innovation also applies in a sense that we need to reinvent ourselves continuously?
Wow, that's a very deep question. But
yes, only for you.
What I can truly say is that, yes, it's always important for us to be substantial. It's important for us to understand and to continually grow. I loved the mentors prior to me because they really talked about innovation and never stop growing, and always to surround yourself with great people, because those are vital things that will help you to become a better person. It may sound cliche, but it's true. And nowadays, it's important for us to adapt to this new normal, or perhaps what you said, this is going to be the normal now. It's not easy. A lot of people are having a hard time even until now. And there are studies that mental illnesses are just continually growing and just being rampant because people are not used to staying in their houses and not being able to go out. But you have to understand that there is a reason why we're here. And we have to learn to adapt to the new normal. And how do you become substantial in this new normal? I understand that we have to always grow. You always train yourself. Even though you're done with your school, you don't stop growing. You continually train. You find something that you want and you want to grow at. And it's something that you need to understand that, as Ms. Matec said earlier, you don't stop growing as a person. It's something that you have to continue. And when it comes to image consultancies, we focus on three things before: your A, B, and C's, your appearance, your behavior, and your communication. But now we have what we call as the letter D. Your digital presence is very important, because right now it's something that you need to understand that you need to always have. Because what if this pandemic will last for 4 years? I don't know. We have to think of the worst case scenario, perhaps, if you have businesses, because it may not come back soon. So what are the things that you have to adapt and to do in order for your business to push through in years to come? Right. So these are the things that we need to understand. And digital presence is very important. And even though we're just staying in our houses, you need to understand to take good care of yourself, because this too shall pass. We just don't know when. We don't know if the vaccine that was being said by a lot of people is going to be distributed and going to be given to all people, if it's going to be 100%. I'm not sure about the research part, if it has to be 100%, but so far they said it's a 90% accurate, so it's going to be good for people. But what if it's not going to be okay? If the third try or the third phase is still not going to be better. What are we going to do?
Right.
Life would not stop for you. So you have to make your choice if you want to stop growing and if you want to continually grow. It's always a matter of your choice every single day when you wake up in the morning. Yes, it's hard, but you're not alone in this boat. Everyone is experiencing what you are experiencing, but you have to adjust. You have to open your eyes to reality and you have to make most of what you have now. Because when everything is finished, what do you want others to see in you? Did you grow? What are the things you've learned? Did you still take good care of yourself? Because, you cannot waste your time. This pandemic has opened my eyes to a lot of things, specifically the importance of life. I know a lot of people that have gone ahead during this pandemic, and it's such a hard season for everyone because if ever like something's going to happen to you, a lot of people are not going to see you. How do I say it? You're going to be in ashes when they see you, because when something happens to you in the hospital, they cannot bring you out as one. And then my whole family got COVID. That's why my eyes was just opened. And it's not easy for us. It was never easy for my whole family, especially when my mom is a senior citizen. So she got pneumonia and she went to the hospital and we did everything. And it was so hard for my family. So it just opened my eyes to the things that, what are the things that you want to do and what are the things that you want to change during this time? So I believe that learning and continuously learning should never stop, even though everything is just so hard for everybody. It's still your choice. It's still your choice. If you want to wake up in the morning, you want to change and you want to grow as a person. I hope I was able to answer your question, sir.
Yes, winner. Okay. Contestant number. Okay. And that's true. I think everything does begin with that choice, that conscious choice that we're all going through this together, that it's just at different levels. We're everybody suffers at a different level. And it's really something that we should be able to realize right now and find ways to navigate around it. And that's something that's very important. So given that, what are like right now, given things that happened with your family, and thank you for sharing that. I hope everything's okay now. And what would you say are significant learnings that you've gotten from this whole experience of the lockdown? And how would you now, what would you say to other people, or how would you help other people also so that they can also learn from what you learned?
One of the greatest things I've learned during this season is to be grateful for every single day that you have with your family. Honestly, when my mom got into the hospital, I was really praying that we were really hoping that she would still come out alive, because there were a lot of people. We've heard stories, young people, senior citizens. COVID doesn't choose your age. It's the same with cancer. It doesn't choose what age you're in. But as long as you're a human being, you can be exposed to it, and you may have it. And what happened was that I just, I realized that I wanted to make more memories with my mom. I want to make more memories with my family. You be grateful that they're still alive and they're still with you, because you can never turn back time. You can never buy time. And whatever is happening now, you maximize it. Whether you're doing mundane tasks, you change the way you see things, you change your perspective, you change your attitude, because there are things that may never change, or there are things that may not change immediately, but perhaps you need to understand it on a different perspective, that you need to change yourself or how you see it. And I'm just grateful that my mom came home and she's doing a lot better now.
Okay.
But at that time, I was just thinking, I don't want to stop making memories with my family. I want them to be there during my special occasions. I want to make more memories with them that I can cherish and share to other people. So one of the things that I really experienced right now is to cherish life and to cherish every opportunity that you have with your family. Because life is not just about achieving goals. Life is about building relationships with the people around you, with the people in your houses, the people in your workplace. Success is not just about what you can achieve in life. Success is about making a difference in this world and leaving a legacy behind. And what are the things that you want other people to understand and to learn from you? And what are the things that you want to leave behind? So those are the things that I really learned.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miss Karen. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why she is a winner. Okay. Okay. So last but not the least, let us hear, of course, from Coach Chappy. Coach Chappy, what would you think are the most important things to remember for anyone who is trying to lead a more healthy, fit, and well lifestyle? Because there's so many things right now that people are going through, and I think that wellness is very important right now for everyone in the absence of any vaccine. So, what would you think would be the most important things to remember?
Completely agree, Robbie. Wellness is very important during this time, and that's really predicated by the pandemic that we are experiencing altogether. Even more so now, fitness and your personal fitness is very important. What you need to remember is that it's a process. It's not something that you will wake up one day and then suddenly you're losing 5 pounds that next day. It's not gonna be
I wish.
simple. Yeah, if that was the case, then there wouldn't be any jobs for us fitness trainers now. The process, it's not going to be something that you can do in, let's say, 4 minutes or maybe 28 days. It is not something like that. It has to be a habit that is first of all, it has to be consistent. It cannot be something that is too hard that you will end up burning out or flaming out after weeks into the program. It has to be sustainable. It cannot be something that you will need so much equipment, especially now when we are most of the time stuck in our homes. So something that you can do with your own body weight, with minimal equipment, or whatever you have at your disposal. And finally, it has to be something. It has to be tied to a goal that is very personal to you. If your goal, for example, is to lose weight to go to the beach, then when you get to the beach, that goal ends. So it's not something no, continue further than that. It has to be something that's deeper into that. That's why when I designed my program for Pocket Mentor, we talked about basically how to get to that level of goal setting.
Yeah.
It just preparing for Boracay. It can be preparing for a 5K. That's something that's deeper than that. So if you can remember that as you're in your program, as you're sweating through your sets and reps, then at least you can stay grounded. You can stay the course.
Thank you. And that's that goals are important, especially for sustaining the wellness or the fitness that you have right now. I remember that prior to this, my goal was to run the Spartan race. So and but because of this lockdown, I didn't get to do it. But I'm still looking forward to it. So I'm trying to stay fit. And I think that's the point that you made, a very important point, that we have to have a sustainable goal, something that will keep us going forward, and that's important for their goals. And okay, so in terms of your own, what about your own health and wellness journey? How has it been like, and what encouraged you to take this on as your job, or as a profession for you?
Well, to share with everybody, I'm a direct product of my parents being in the same industry. My dad is a strength coach. He was a professional strength coach with the PBA. My mom is a nutritionist. So I grew up in a healthy household. It didn't, we weren't like ultra fit. We were athletic. We were in sports. I completely believe, like what Coach Mike said, sports can really help you foster something that's more sustainable, something that will really last you for a lifetime. My parents instilled that to me early on. Early on, actually, I wanted to be a filmmaker of all things. Old millennial, so I am part of the millennial generation. Sorry po, Mate, Miss Mate. I am part of that generation, although I am an older millennial generation. So I do get the best of both worlds. So I did a lot of changes in my career choice, but ultimately it led to wellness and fitness. And like what I was sharing earlier, whenever I see people go through their own personal journeys, I'm also inspired because we all have our own circumstances. We all have our own roadblocks, and to see somebody get over that roadblock, it's very inspiring. I went to coaching basketball. I went to coaching fitness. So everything's been trying to lead people to what, in my opinion, is the healthy and sustainable way. So it's not something you won't. If you see me down the street, you probably won't notice or say that, hey, this is a fitness coach, because I look like a normal guy. And I really, that's how my clients see me as. It's something that's, it's not something that's unattainable. It's
Mhm.
something more sustainable. In my opinion, that's how you can live a healthy life. If you have that balance of enjoying things from time to time, but being healthy enough so that you can enjoy them as fully as you can.
Right, right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Coach Chappy. And ladies and gentlemen, so if you want sustainable fitness and wellness, subscribe to Pocket Mentor and look up Coach Chappy as our mentor in Pocket Mentor so you can be there. So I want to toss this question for all the mentors, and you can all just jump in. Like I said, I want this really just a conversation that we're all going to have. And for those of you who are watching and those of you who are following us right now, please feel free to put your questions in the comment section if you're watching on Facebook and on the Facebook page of Pocket Mentor. Or for those of us on Zoom, just click on the Q&A button and put your questions there, and we will ask our mentors to respond. So I'm going to start off by just giving this to everyone. Anybody can be the first or the last to respond. So, question for everyone. Can you give one main rule that you have lived by that has proved helpful in terms of allowing you to get more out of life? So, what is the one main rule that that you live by? That has allowed you to get more out of life. So anyone can, or is this like a volunteer thing, or is this going to be like a voluntold thing?
Okay, let me go first because you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, go, Coach Mike. Was that
That
you,
was
Coach Mike? Who was it?
no, that was Matec.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matec.
That's okay.
Let's go, Miss Matec.
That's
Because I
fine.
can't see who's speaking right now.
Okay, I've always gone by the principle na kung gusto may paraan, kung ayaw may dahilan. So I've always, when I put myself, when I want to do something, I will find means and ways. I will be relentless about it. So every time, when people tell me, oh, I can't do it, in my head, it's like, you don't want to do it.
Mhm.
So but that's me. When I think that's how I got by. I wasn't top of my class. I wasn't. Um, I barely made it through to high school and college. I mean, I wasn't the smart one. I'm not always the first choice. But as you go through life, I started to learn that, oh, uh, if you put your head into it, you can actually do it. That's one. Second, if you team up with the right people, uh, look for the right sensei. Because that's what I did in advertising. I realized that the only way to learn is and the way I learned was I was always volunteering to be their assistant.
Mhm.
Can I help? Can I, I would just say, are you doing new business? Can I tag along?
Ah.
because that was the only. I mean, they weren't going to ask you, right? Because
Mhm.
I wasn't necessarily top of mind. But if I wanted to learn, and I was just genuinely curious, so and that's what I did. I would always volunteer. I would always be tagging along, and that's. I think that's how I got to where I ended up, heading an agency. So
Thank you. Yes. I like that. Yung pag gusto may paraan, pagka ayaw, maraming dahilan. Okay. I think that's a very good thing to remember, right? Whenever we are faced with challenges, um, I guess it's a question that we should ask ourselves, right? It's something that we can ask ourselves. Do I want this or not? Because if I don't want it, then maybe that's why I'm not facing the challenge head on. And it can also drive us forward, I guess, when there is a lack of passion, because we don't always wake up every day and say, oh, I'm passionate to work today, right? But because we're professionals and we do it because we like what we do, and we like being around the people that we work with or the thing that we're doing. So even in the absence of maybe the passion that day, because gusto, gagawa ng paraan. Thank you, Miss Matec. Who else? I will go to the obvious second. Sir Francis, would you like to?
Now, I don't know what your criteria is, but well,
you don't notice the trend. It's age.
yes, of course. Uh, well, I don't want you to look at this as being cheesy or anything, but the rule that I've operated on is love God, love others. You know, the others part is always the neighbor part. If you remember what it
Mm.
says, you gotta love God first with all of your strength, and then you gotta love your neighbors. And so the neighbors in our case will always be the family. But that thing now will be also encompassing that with it. You can't say you really love God and you love your neighbors when you are doing things that will take advantage of others and shortchanging others
Mhm.
by by enriching yourself, because may bawi yun eh. And it's gonna hit your family also. So kasama na rin dyan yung yung bang you gotta protect your assets eh. In this business, especially, I operate in the Chinese environment. I'm ethnic Chinese and everything. You only have one name that you're going to be passing on to your kids. Eh. So I would rather lose money, and I have done so because I made a commitment, I made a promise, and then I lost money. I'd rather suffer a loss than to just find, sabi nga ni Mamatek, you find out excuses and then scream your way, squeeze your way out of it. Hindi pwede. So that has always worked. Now we can put that in different ways. I mean, in business we call that extending excellent customer service, delighting the customer and everything. But essentially, it is giving more than what is expected, and then making sure that the relationship is built and you add value, and somehow investment pala yun. So hindi ka naman, even if you think that you've suffered a loss, but the credibility and the trust that is built will always make you bawi. So I found that workable in business, with my clients, in speaking, with my audience. So that is one common thing that has been working all throughout this many years of my life.
Thank you, Sir Francis. And
You're
it's
welcome.
not cheesy at all.
Okay.
It was not cheesy at all. Thank you.
Uh,
Maybe two more from our mentors, because I want to go to some questions in our Q&A.
Can I go, Sir
Yeah,
Roland?
go ahead.
Yeah. So I've always wanted to. Well, I always tell my mentees in business, when people ask me candidly, to dream big and never quit.
Mhm.
And those are two different actions or thought processes, right? A lot of people in my age, for example, the millennial age, are sort of settling with what they think is possible, right? So if there are millennials or people who are perhaps afraid to go after their goals, don't. And as long as you don't quit, right, and you stick to that particular goal, as long as it's big enough that it scares you, perhaps you might make it, right? A lot of people don't. I'm not saying that this is the perhaps the secret to success, right? But there are a lot of things. But then I think it starts with a dream, and it starts with a relentless pursuit of improvement of oneself.
Right. Yeah.
And never again, life will struck you down, but that's one thing you shouldn't do, right? Never quit. So
Yeah.
I think that's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Sir Roland. Very good, and I think that's something that we should all remember. That yes, life will strike you down, but all of that is really just a test, and it's something that we can use as a leverage to pick ourselves up and do better, and to learn from all of these things. And I heard this before. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback. So you can you can take a failure as a feedback and use it to your advantage. Yes. One more of our mentors, just to answer this before I go to our
You can go.
questions.
I can
Yes,
go.
yes, Coach Mike. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna sound as cheesy as Francis maybe. No, but let me frame my response. I think I'm old enough to talk about seasons in life. So when your question was asked, it doesn't come in one form. It comes in special season. Now, my aside from the way you introduced me, I'm also involved in so many things. I'm one of those guys that you call, jack of all trades, and hopefully I'll be a master of something. When I was young, I would always be involved in so many things. I'm also in music. I'm also in arts and sports. I'm books and balls. I can do all those things. So my belief then was I can do everything. So that's the first season. All right. But that failed. That failed. For some reason, I found out that I kept on pushing myself because I thought that I could do everything. And then my life changed, and this is the cheesy part, and I will just follow Francis. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all His righteousness and all these things will be added unto you. And then I realized I did not have to do so much. I was blessed, and I had a destiny, and all I had to do was step into those things that was natural for me, rather than force myself on all the things that were presented to me, and I wanted to be the best on all those things. So now my life is a little bit, well, simpler, if I think, if you want to put it that way. And in sports, it actually works. It actually works. When I teach my 12-year-olds, it's the same thing. You can't be good in all the positions that you want to be good in. You have to choose the most perfect fit for you, and then be the best in that position. I have a guy. I coach baseball, right? So some baseball 101s. You have position players. I'm sure you guys know what a pitcher is and a catcher is. You have position players. 9 players on the field. So 9 different skill sets, right? 9 different skill sets. Then you go into the batter's box, and then in the batter's box you have a pitcher who pitches you what? 4 different kinds of pitches. So you can't be the same person all the time. So I just put that in the sport setting, but that's where I'm coming from now. I believe that there's a destiny, and that we're always blessed. All you need to do is step into that path, and everything will be okay. So I just wanted to frame it that way. So
Thank you, Coach Mike. And no, again, I will say not cheesy at all. Very good. I really like that insight, that not everybody plays the same position, and even if you are, you don't always play the same way.
Right.
You know, somebody will play it differently, some will have different decisions, and we should celebrate that. Celebrate our differences, celebrate that other people may be better at something else than you are, and maybe leverage on that rather than, calling it out or trying to be the best at everything. It's tiring to try to be
Yeah.
the best at everything. So yes, so let's go to our attendees here. I have a question. This question is actually directed to Karen, and she wants to remain anonymous. And so here's your question. You mentioned about digital presence as an additional focus on image and development. How
Mhm.
can one start with that?
Now that's a good question. Honestly, you need to maximize this, whatever you have now. When we say digital presence, it may be in your posters, it may be on your social media accounts because you have to be visible. It may be in your website. People right now really search a lot on social media and on the internet. So if you're not visible there, your most probably your business is not just going to be out there. So you need to understand that, and perhaps as simple as knowing how to navigate Zoom meetings or other platform of meetings that are virtually. You need to understand the essentials of having the right framing, as easy as that, the lighting, the clothes that you have to wear, and perhaps we would like to invite you because I have a specific session about that in Pocket Mentor. So as easy as that, because I have webinars that I've seen and I have a specific host, and as easy as the basics. They really don't know how to set up a proper framing for webinars. You don't have the right you don't have the right technology. I can't hear them, and then the framing is just wrong. I can just see their face from downwards to upwards, and I couldn't see the proper framing. As simple as that. And then the background was busy, and their clothes was just busy. I couldn't see them. And then sometimes the internet is not good. I understand that, but they did not prepare ahead of time. I could really see that because I couldn't hear them properly because they don't have the right device, things like this, as simple as that. And you need to learn to be comfortable when it comes to virtual presence. A lot of people are not, because I understand that there are people that are more comfortable when it comes to personal talking or when it comes to in-person events. But
Mhm.
then you need to learn how to adapt to be more comfortable when it comes to things like this. Because what if we stay here for like 4 years? What are you going to do? So you need to practice yourself. You need to understand how to look or where to look when you have webinars. Do you look at the screen? Do you look in the webcam? Where do you look at it? So you need to understand those simple things, and maybe you can start there. That's a great start. Don't be afraid, but what you really need to do is to start somewhere.
All right. Thank you, Miss Karen. And yes, start somewhere. So, ladies and gentlemen, invest in a ring light. No.
Yes.
I've been resisting. No, no ring light.
No ring
All
light.
right.
Okay. So thank you for that answer, Ms. Karen. I'd like to direct this next question to all mentors. And so what is or are the best tips when you know that you will need to take some risks in order to achieve your goals, but these risks will have a big impact for you in every decision you may need to take in progress. So does it depend on the kind of situation that you're in or I'm in? So I'll read it again as the person asking. What are the best tips when you know that you will need to take some risks in order to achieve your goals, but these risks will have a big impact for you in every decision you need to take in the process? So does it depend on what kind of situation I'm in? Let's start maybe with Miss Anna. Um, yeah.
All right. Yeah.
What would
Okay.
you? What? Yeah.
Robbie. By the way, Karen, I have no issue about ring lights. It's just not in high up in the priority list at the moment.
Okay.
You look lovely, by the way, and I hope my
Thank
framing
you.
is okay.
Yes, yes, it is.
Your house looks lovely as well.
So, yeah, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw that question was never make a decision about taking a risk when you're anxious.
Okay.
Never make any major decision when you're in a panic, also. You need to get your emotions at a level where you can think rationally because I think many people make the mistake of making very, very quick decisions when they feel like they're backed up against the wall, when they're feeling pressure, maybe from people who depend on them or pressure from people who have high expectations of them. And I think one of the soft skills that Sir Francis was talking about, and I've been reflecting a lot on this, is having that inner steeliness
Mhm.
to calm yourself down and to really get your headspace in to be able to make rational decisions
Right.
and don't take risks that you think is going to cost you much more than you can recover, for example.
Mhm.
For example, I know a lot of people are thinking about starting a business. A lot of people are thinking of investing a lot of their savings, for example, for a startup and that sort of thing. I would say do not invest everything on an idea that is not yet tested. Well, first of all, you need to do your research. You need to do a lot of your research. And I've seen a lot of successful entrepreneurs who started to really develop their concept, develop their ideas whilst holding a full-time job. So that kind of helps to mitigate the risk as well. And maybe this is coming from a family woman because I have children who depend on me. Maybe you can take bigger risks, for example, if you are single, you don't have a mortgage, that sort of thing. But I guess the bottom line is two things. One is never make a decision when you're anxious or
Mhm.
when you're in a panic. And then second is that take risks, but make sure these are risks that you are willing to lose and you can still get back on your feet if things don't pan out.
Right. Thank you, Anna. And maybe as a follow-up question, but I will ask maybe Coach Chappy to answer this one because it's another question, and I think it's related to that answer. As leaders and as mentors, for Pocket Mentor and for other people, what will you be saying yes and no to in this time of uncertainty? Then,
It's a great question. But to follow up from what Anna said, I constantly live in a partnership. That makes sense. I live in a partnership with my wife. That makes sense. So every decision that I make, and I learned this the hard way. So all men out there, I'm sure some of you can relate to me. All, especially if you're coming from sports, diba? You are kind of like in an arena where you have to make quick decisions. If you are lagging in your decision process, then tapos na, your opponent might have gone past you. So I kind of carried that into my family life somewhat. So I learned this the hard way, guys. So if you are in a partnership, you have to consult with your partner every time. What will I say yes or no to? It all goes back to, I saw another question there about motivation also. It all goes back to my it. So my it is something that is common to a lot of sportsmen and women out there. It motivates you. It moves you. It inspires you. You wake up for it. You move for it, etc., etc. My it and everything that I say yes or no to, it has to relate to my it, which is focus for my family's freedom.
Mhm.
So decision that I make, I have to look at it from that lens. Will it provide freedom to my family? If it's a yes, then I'm gonna go for it. If it's a no, then sorry, I gotta move on to the next one. So every decision, no matter how small, how big, I first consult with my partner, and then secondly, we look at it through the lens of that kid, and that's different for everybody. You might have a different than what I. So for me, that's it, and I have to always look at every decision and make sure it fits that criteria.
Great. Thank you, Coach Chappy. And that reminds me of earlier today when Miss Matec was sharing that the things that she did to become successful, she really had only three priorities in her life, and she focused her decisions on what would contribute to those priorities, and everything else was just on the side. So to focus on those priorities, and yes, if you are in a partnership, yes, guys, those who are in a partnership, yes, consult your partner always. Okay. Consult your partner always. Okay. So let's go to one of our Facebook questions before I go back to those from our Zoom. We do have a question on Facebook from one of our Facebook viewers, Miss Milan Seriosa. She says, "Is there a process to help you find your life's purpose, like what you really want in life?" So anyone can answer this question. Is there a process? Yes, anyone can jump in. Or maybe what has been the process for you that could probably help Miss Milan.
Can I just,
Sure. Go, Anna.
I don't know. I think some of my commenters might also share the same perspective. When you talk about purpose, you always have to ask your maker, and that's always been my that's always been my philosophy, really. And I think I've been asking this purpose question the earliest I can remember was when I was 13. Um, and the great thing about asking your maker, well, I mean, having that constant conversation with God is that your purpose can change through the seasons, as Sir Mike was also saying. And for me, that's the most exciting part about purpose, because there's not just one purpose for me. But every single day you can have many purposes, and you can have like an overarching purpose for a season in your life, and then that can change again. And the only way that you can really figure it out, if you're overstaying, for example, your purpose, if you're constantly in conversation with your maker. That's for me.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna. Very, very good. Yes, we should always find time for ourselves. Yes, and to ask our maker, what our purpose would be, and that's something that we can all relate to, at least here in the Philippines, right? And I think that's a very good thing. That's going for Filipinos. Yes. Maybe one more.
Can I add to that,
Yes, yes, Sir
Tito
Francis.
Robbie?
I actually feel honored that Sir Francis is calling me Tito Robbie.
Oh,
I find it an honor. It's an honor,
yeah.
actually.
Well, I love what Anna says. One thing that I have learned in life is that God will not put in you what He doesn't expect to get out from you. So, a very good example there is you can ambition to be a rock star and a great singer, but you don't have a voice. He hasn't given that to you. So, when you take a look at that philosophy and then you expand that concept a little bit more, our talents are God given. So the the purpose is to understand what our talents are and then to convert the talents into an acquired skill. So from that talent, you develop your skill and then you make use of it, you continue to learn, you expand it, you ask questions from seasoned mentors. You don't be embarrassed asking questions. I think that's one of the weaknesses that we have. We feel like every time we ask questions, we are weak. Actually, we are strong if we have the confidence of asking questions. But make sure you ask knowledgeable people, and then your meaning really comes Once you understand your purpose, you will begin to see that it is the purpose why you've been created that way, because you see fruit, you see harvest, you see good results happening. I mean, but that's just one aspect. There's another one. So you have talent, you have purpose, and then the meaning comes when you actually give your purpose away. So you leverage now on your successes and your purpose, and then you use that in order to be a channel of blessing, and then
Right.
encourage others to look for their own calling and look for on their purposes, and then to find their own life's meaning as well. And can I add one more thing,
Sure.
Tito Robbie? Yeah, just one last one. What is the yes and no that I don't want to do during this pandemic? I'd like to advise everybody that the the no part that you shouldn't be doing is to just accept any advice you can get from the sources that you have not done due diligence in checking out the track record, the experience. And I'm so hard on this. I mean, if I want to get experience, if I want to get advice, I want to get advice from practitioners and not just theorists. It's like if you want to have a brain surgery, you don't want to look for a doctor who told you, I've read some books on brain surgery. You want to have somebody who actually practiced that. And then secondly, this is the time to also say no to cliche and the motherhood statements given by speakers, and that has sort of distorted the way the millennials have been thinking. Earlier, we've heard about people saying that you can be, si Coach Mike, you can be the best that you can be as long as you put your heart in it. That's not true.
Mm.
Can you imagine Shaquille O'Neal wanting to be the best horse jockey in the world? He's bigger than a horse. So those are follow your passion. If you run after your passion, your money will run after you. That's not true. In the first place, they don't even know the difference between what a passion is and what a hobby is. So during this pandemic, I think the pandemic has forced people now to understand the difference between what is craft, pardon the French, and crap. So this is the time when we don't just accept things as they are. One more thing. In business, we have heard the cliche, fail faster so you can succeed sooner. Nobody enters into business to fail. You got to give it your best shot. And so you got to ask people, you got to get the right mentor. You have, as what it says, sharp iron sharpens iron. And then you find yourself in the company of people who are not just been there, done that, but who are been there, done that, and are still doing greatly now. And these are the guys that can help us succeed in life. So, yeah, sorry, too long an answer.
Yeah, it's okay. Actually, a very good point. Very good point for everyone to remember in terms of our own journeys right now.
Yeah.
Things that we are facing, things that we need to realize also. I like that analogy of Shaquille O'Neal being a jockey,
Yeah.
because I always wanted to try basketball, but you know, I was never tall enough. So, so, so yeah. I mean, pursue your talents. Find out what you're
Mm.
good at, and that's what you work on. I also like the idea of giving away your purpose, and that resonated a lot with me, so that you become a blessing to others. We have only time for one last question. And I'm sorry for those who gave questions also with the Q&A. I know there are a lot of questions out there, but we only have time for one more. And this goes out to anyone again of you mentors here. How do you mentor someone who has either high expectations of you, or someone who seems out to get you, or maybe to trip you up, like they're getting you because they want to see your flaws? So, or someone who thinks that they know more, or that they are better than you. So how do you mentor a person like that? if you have you encountered people like that? Yes, Coach Mike. Yep. And
You
then
know,
I
the way
think
you phrased the question, the problem is not with me. It seems that the problem is with him.
yes.
So the way you would mentor a person like that is the way you would mentor anybody else, with love and truth.
Mhm.
Whatever he does with what you say, not your problem, it's his problem. When I say love and truth, you also tell him the truth.
Yes.
If it's tough for him to accept it because he's looking for a flaw in you, so be it. It's his problem.
Yes.
So I think that's the way to do it. Now, if you lose him as a friend, after that, he was never your friend. So I'm just being, that's the reality of that question. It
Mhm.
was phrased from a point of view of negativity and challenge. So it was
Yeah.
not an open acceptance of mentoring. So the problem is
Mhm.
really with the person who is going to ask you to be mentored, to mentor him.
Right.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach Mike. I think Miss Matek, were you raising your hand before?
Yeah, I was just going to say you
Yeah.
don't.
You don't.
You don't. It's like any relationship. How can you have a relationship? How can you have, mentoring is a two-way relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah. Clear.
It's got to be a very clear two-way relationship. Now, if it's not two-way, don't even have it. Go find someone else. Shake hands. It was nice meeting you. Goodbye. Here, let me recommend someone for you. Because you still
Yeah.
feel for the person. But why force a relationship, right? But
Yeah.
Yeah.
makakasalan, di ka naman gusto. Di ba?
Right.
Correct. Correct. Yes.
And
So true.
can I
So
can I add on to that?
yes.
I
Go
love
ahead.
what Matic said. Kasi mentors are not lawyers. Eh. Iba ang philosophy ng lawyers. Eh. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but we get paid anyway. Di ba? Hindi naman tayo ganun.
Yep. That's so true. Okay. And with that, I guess thank you, mentors, for answering all our questions or the questions that we were able to field here today. It's so interesting that time just flew and parang sayang, Parang sana we could have a lot more. And well, this is all the time we have right now. And thank you for the Q&A. Thank you, mentors, for answering all our questions. And we officially now, but before we officially end, we'd like to leave you with a short video about Pocket Mentor, just for you to understand a little better who we are and what we are all about. Do your employees need training, lessons on self-improvement? Then you have got to try Pocket Mentor. Pocket Mentor is an online learning platform for your employees' personal and professional development. And the mentors? Only the best minds in the business.
Learn how to create innovation objectives, how to ideate, how to incubate ideas, and then finally, how to implement your innovation.
I'm going to teach you more about the importance of appearance, why you should take good care of your health, and the importance of going eco-friendly.
I do hope that my sports stories help you in your work, in your relationships, and in your life.
Expect me to open my heart and my mind in this journey as an entrepreneur. There will be topics that talk about authenticity, vulnerability, and even love.
Listen to this guy because this guy actually cares for what you feel, and this guy will help you solve your problem.
As one spark of an idea changes an entire life for the better, all these beautiful ideas can now be contained in a device that people can bring with them.
If you want a transformative learning experience, get Pocket Mentor today. Wow. Okay. So I hope you now have a better appreciation of what Pocket Mentor is trying to do. which in essence is all about democratizing learning and development. Imagine, with just the price of your usual entertainment platforms like Netflix or Amazon Prime, you get the chance to learn from business leaders and industry mentors. Pocket Mentor is all about allowing more Filipino professionals and workers to have access to inspiring and practical content so that they can use the knowledge and wisdom to succeed in their lives and live more fully. So, if you want to know more about Pocket Mentor, our subscription plans and packages, the mentors and their content, or you want a tour of our platform, email us at hello@pocketmentorph.com. That's hello@pocketmentorph.com. Or send us a message in our Facebook page or Instagram account, or visit our website at www.pocketmentorph.com. And we will be in touch
Emoji.
with you.
Tama natin.
So once again,
Oh,
thank
angel,
you for
angel.
being with us this afternoon. We hope that we have inspired you and have made your day more fulfilled. And you have enjoyed the session as much as we did, as you can see. We'll still be doing our usual live sessions, so please stay tuned on our Facebook pages in the coming weeks. So watch out. We will post announcements on that page, and see you soon and stay safe.